Day. Today is 12/4/25. We're going to start a little bit earlier because we've got some entertainers here today. They're called line dancers, and they are superb. They did their performance at the Sworka about a month ago, and they've done it here about 2 years ago, if you can recall. So we'll have them in a minute, but we have special things here, so Jack's going to talk first.
Good morning, and thank you for being here. After I finish the prayer, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then Larry's going to do the national anthem. Would you bow with me, please? It is December 2025, and as we enter the Christian holiday season, we thank you for this day and for allowing us to share it with you. Thank you for the many blessings you have provided for our past, our present, and hopefully our future. Even as we look forward to the many reasons to celebrate, we remember this coming Sunday is the day we call Day of Infamy, the day our freedoms were threatened like never before. And it was only because of our commitment for freedom and the love of our country that we remain free. And we must never forget you were by our side. Help us to remember the many blessings that we have this holiday season. And we ask all of this in your holy name. Amen. Amen. Shall we stand for our pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please feel free to join me. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
We have a special event today. These are line dancers. This is Judy, and she's in charge. So we'll move right on down. You will be excited about what you see and hear. They've been doing this for several years, and their average age is 27. 21, I'm sorry. All right, now we have music to go with it. You're in charge.
Okay. We are excited to be here again today. This is our second time to dance here at the museum. But we are always excited to be here, and we hope we can brighten your day a little bit by dancing for you. Thank you.
Give us a room with a view on the beautiful ride. Give me a money on quick and Texas in your time. I got those 1, 2, 3 for a occupation G. From my GI to the heels of my GI shoe. And if I don't go stateside soon, I'm gonna go my field. We'll get hops and pepper and black pumpernickel for child. We get hops and pepper and black pumpernickel for child. I know my next one's paid my side, so extra scout. We like to be heroes, but all that we do here is smart. We like to be heroes, but all that we do here is smart. And they don't give a purple heart for a falling arch. I got the 1, 2, 3 for the occupation GI Blue. From my GI to the heels of my GI shoe. And if I don't go stateside soon, I'm gonna pull my view. The fall are the prettiest flowers, but we can't make it dance. The fall are the prettiest flowers, but we can't make it dance. The fall are all inside saying keep it here, all the grass. I got the 1, 2, 3, 4 occupation GI Blue. From my GI to the heels of my GI shoe. And if I don't go stateside soon, I'm gonna blow my fuse. Occupation GI Blue. Occupation GI Blue. Occupation GI Blue.
Company C.
Testing, testing. Okay, a couple of things before we get to our main speaker. We've got one thing we're gonna give an award in a second, and I'm gonna get a gentleman to come up here, bring Mr. Herb Levine up. Before he gets up here, we're gonna ask a couple things. I just got a check from a young gentleman out here for $1,000. Thank you very much. The check is going to, we just had an anonymous donor give us $100,000 to match the $100,000. At this point, we're at $67,000. And the reason we're doing this is that tank back there needs a rebuilt engine. And we're gonna go next week to go get the rebuilt engine, or the week after, and put in that tank, and then it's gonna run again. It's one of the only places in the United States, there's only 4 that you can ride a tank. So we want it active running, and we're gonna do some new treads on it, fire retardant, and make sure some maintenance is done. So if you've got an IRA or you got anything, you are more than welcome to talk to me or John Groves today, and we can move anything over if you want. If you don't, that's fine. But anything, if you'd like to, we want to get above 100,000 because we had a generous donor give us 100. So if you give us $1, it's worth $2. So help us out if you can. It's Christmas time, and but you can also give it to your children, and they can fly first class. So you can let them just fly first class otherwise. Anyway, so we've got a little gentleman here, right here. Now I want to, because this is the Army Air Corps, it was called the Army Air Corps. This is he's only 103 right now. He's going to say a few words. I'm going to ask you a couple questions here. Now, Irv was a radio man over at the Hump. So he was in Chabawa, India, shooting radio waves. It was called Iran, so the pilots could fly over the Hump. And then he moved over to Kunming, that was the Chinese capital. And that was in about 1944 and 45. Tell us a couple words about your experience, because the lady's going to talk about Air Force ROTC. It was Army Air Force then, now it's Air Force ROTC. She's coming down from Bloomington to talk with. Herb, just tell us, how scary was it when you flew over the Himalayas?
The Himalayas, also called the Hump, is 20,000 feet up in the air. And we get supplies. That's how China got the supplies from the United States. And I flew the Hump a couple of times, and it was a daring flight, I'll tell you. Some of the planes would fly over the Hump to about 20,000 feet, and all at once the air would get out, and the planes would come down to 16,000 feet. Some of those planes made it, some of them didn't. The ones that didn't were brought in by the natives, and some made it and some didn't. And that was part of my duty in the Air Force.
It was called Aluminum Alley. We lost close to 1,000 planes. It was one of the most dangerous things you could do. Larry Head's dad was over there, and we had Brinker in town, Lloyd Brinker. We also had a guy named Carson, Ellis Carson. Carson Center's named after his dad. He flew the Hump as well. So what he said, this was the biggest airlift ever until the Berlin lift in about 1949. They moved supplies over because Japan had 80% of their troops over in China, and they occupied all the ports, and they took over the Burmese Trail. So he flew over and he sent radio waves so these people knew what was going on. And he used to do his yard work. He quit last year at 101. So if you need somebody to do your yard work, he might do your yard work.
It's been a real good ride. I can't say enough about it. I'm 103 years old. And here I am standing and talking to the vets. Really, I'm pleased.
Okay, next thing we have an award to give. That's right. Andrew speaker first, and then she'll give the award. Okay. Come on. This is Jackie. She's come all the way down from Bloomington. She came early in the morning, and she has been working with ROTC, Air Force ROTC in Bloomington, Indiana. ROTC is pretty important to the military. They train young men in colleges and train to be women. Oh my, yes, women. Okay, yes, young men and women in the Air Force that we've got out at USI Army. But just so you know, some of them became active duty, some go to reserve. Back in 1990, we had 2,200,000 active duty troops, about 800,000 reserves. Now that's sort of reversed. We have about 1.5 million reserves and now 800 to 900,000 active duty. But these guys train, they can't all go to West Point, they can't all go to Naval Academy or to the Air Force Academy. So they train and become very good officers. So she's going to talk about a little bit of that, but mostly about Rosie Riveters. There's a Rosie Riveter Association of 5,000 women in the United States, and she's going to talk about Rosie's, and she's going to also give a little award. You're in charge of giving the award? Okay.
Can you hear me? You can hear me now. I can really hear it. Oh. Okay, like he said, I'm a part of the American Rosie the Riveter Association. I'm the Indiana director. It's a fairly new position for me. And I am a member of this museum, and I see the newsletters. And kudos to the newsletter person. Because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't know half of what goes on here. But in the newsletter, I see the things that were happening with the Education Committee. And I'm going to say what the purpose is for the American Rosie Riveter Association. You'll understand why it fits so well. The purpose is to recognize and preserve the history and legacy of working women, including volunteer women during World War II. To promote the cooperation and fellowship among such members and their descendants, and to further the advancement of patriotic ideals, excellence in the workplace, and loyalty to the United States of America. And this recognition proudly presents the recognition of historic education to Evansville Wartime Museum. By preserving the history of World War II Rosie contributions on the home front through collaborative efforts of the museum's Education Committee and its community programming. And I'm going to present this to Miss Nancy. I'm going to be a member. Yes, we're working on that. I also have something else for her, and I will talk about it later. This is just it's a Who's Your Rosie patch. And also, I will talk about it a little bit in the slides, but April 10th of 24, Rosie's finally got their Congressional Gold Medal. And I am giving Nancy a bronze copy. Oh, and we're going to have lunch. We got a picture. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about the organization. I'm not going to try to be too lengthy on it. And then I'm going to talk about the Congressional Gold Medal, and then move on into my Rosies who moved to Evansville for jobs. We're really nervous, so. Oh. So, like he said, I work at the Air Force ROTC at Indiana University. I've worked under 9 different lieutenant colonels. I know the lingo now. The first year I was there was just like a...
Got it volume up?
Can you hear me?
Not yet. Now we can.
Okay, I'll talk a little louder. Okay. So I worked for about 9 lieutenant colonels, and if you can't tell by my southern Indiana slang, I grew up with my grandmas. Okay, so I probably talk like a lot of you. Okay, American Rosie River Association was formed December 7th. Makes sense, right? In Warm Springs, Georgia, which was the, winter home of Roosevelt. So that's where Dr. Fran Carter, this is Fran Carter. She's an educator, and she was also a member of DAR. And when she was kind of slowing down, she was much older when she formed this organization. And she finally stopped teaching, because a teacher really doesn't stop teaching, right? I mean, we all know that. So she formed this organization, and she took a lot of the bylaws from DAR. And if any of you are in SAR or DAR, you know what I'm talking about. It's a non-political volunteer organization, mainly based on learning, right? So it worked out well. Okay, I'm moving on to 2 ladies. These are important ladies. May Cryer and Phyllis Gould. They were members of the American Rosie River Association, but they finally thought, okay, we're all gathered together. We're under an organization. We're starting to know each other, meet each other across the country. May lived in Pennsylvania. Phyllis lived in Richmond, California. She worked at the shipyards there. And May worked in Seattle at Boeing. They were both rifters or welders. So they decided they were going to work with their Congress members across the country from each other. And somehow, over time, they got this done. They're sweet as they can be. So you can about imagine, they killed them with sweetness and got all the signatures they needed. And Phyllis, unfortunately, Phyllis knew that this had been done, that had been passed, but she didn't make it to the ceremony on April 10th. May Cryer received the Congressional Gold Medal on behalf of all Rosies. And now she is kind of the new face of Rosie. You know how you have the one with the, okay, May Cryer's the new one. And if you have watched the National 4th of July celebration on PBS, you've seen May Cryer. She was the Rosie that Alfonso Ribeiro was introducing during that program. She was taken to Normandy for the 80th anniversary with a bunch of World War II veterans. They took a Rosie with them. So these are all of the Rosies that were able to attend. A lot of people can't travel anymore, you know, so that was the only ones that were able to make it, or the ones that even knew about it, because we don't know all of the Rosies. I took my granddaughter with me. She's 25 when I took her. We went to a dinner the night before, and we were looking for a table. And we were walking around, all of a sudden this little lady popped up in front of us and she said, "Hi, I'm May Cryer." And she grabbed a hold of my granddaughter and looked her intently in the face and told her to do something great. It was pretty amazing. She was so taken back that when we finally got to our table, she goes, "What do I do? What do I do?" I said, "It'll come to you. It'll come to you." So this is what the Congressional Gold Medal looks like on each side. And if you look at Nancy's coin, you'll get a better look of it. And then this is my 2 grandmothers that moved here to Evansville to get jobs. So on the left here is Minnie. She was born in 1898. So she was an older Rosie. She was about 45. And then Edna May was about 24. That's a picture of her in Colorado, but that just looks so good of her, I had to put it on there. This picture with her polka dotted dress at Minnie was taken here in Evansville. I don't know where Faye K portrait would be. If anybody knows what it is, that'd be great. Minnie and Edna were both from Southern Illinois in Gallatin County across the Wabash River. Poverty was bad then, and it is now, right? If you go back there, you know. They came to Evansville because they had to have a job. A lot of people were working, Rosie's were working because we got to bring the boys home. You know, there's all kinds of different reasons why people did Rosie work. Theirs was desperation. They had to get a job. They first went to Indianapolis, where Edna May's husband went to get a job. That did not go well at all in a lot of different ways. Edna came back single. So when they came back, they got a hold of Minnie's Aunt Minnie and said, we hear you live in Evansville. She hadn't seen her in years. Minnie's mother died when she was 2 years old. This is her sister. She wrote him back and said, come on, I got a place for you to stay, and I'll help you get jobs. And if you know the history of the time in Evansville, it was hard to find a rental place. You just couldn't get rent, and you couldn't, as a landlord, kick somebody out. There was laws or policies in place. And I know this mainly from what they've told me. So they move in with Aunt Minnie. Hi, Grandma. They moved in with Aunt Minnie, where this empty lot is where the American Theater was. They lived upstairs. When they first got there, Aunt Minnie said, you share a bathroom with me, you share living quarters with me. I have girls that have rooms in the back, they use the back stairs, and that's that. Aunt Minnie was married to a police officer, and the police officer passed away. He was a widower when she married him, and she raised his boys. They became police officers, and they took care of her in more ways than one. I don't know where this was. It's supposed to have been taken in Evansville. My wild guess is maybe the USO. I don't know. If somebody has an idea, please let me know. The first job was at White Swan. They said it was horrible. That was the hardest job they've ever done. And they worked around Saline County, Illinois, where they made brine. And they knew how hard that was. They said this was the hardest job. They wouldn't let Edna May go from the job. They wouldn't release her. It's just like the rentals. You couldn't leave your job without getting permission from your current employer before you go to another job. Minnie was released, probably because of her age, and she got a job at Sorrel. She very well could have riveted those wings. I got these pictures from the Evansville Museum, but after I got a quick tour, I realized I could have got them right back here. But the first time we go to the Evansville Museum every 4th of July, my son and my granddaughter, we all go there for this fest back there. It's wonderful. So the first time I went in there and seen the uniform, I got pretty emotional. I was like, this is what Grandma must have worn, something like this. And I really like that it was a top and bottom, because you see so many one piece and you're like, how do women deal with that? But it was just amazing to see what maybe she would have worn at that time, because she didn't really talk about that, just like a lot of World War II veterans don't talk. This is from this museum. When I first seen it, it was on a bottom shelf, and I tried to get a good picture of it. So I just took my camera down there and I thought, I'll zoom in later, maybe Grandma's in there, you know. I thought the women on this side, men on that side, I thought the woman in the middle favored her a lot. My sister looked at it, it looks like grandma. I finally got a hold of the museum. Can you give me an original copy so I can see this? And unfortunately, it was not. But I can pretend, right? If you don't have any information, just go with what you got. This is Shirley. It wasn't just Minnie, Ed, and May that came here. Shirley was 7 years old when she came here. She stayed with Aunt Minnie or after school programs that they had. And also, Uncle Jimmy. Uncle Jimmy was 17 years old. He'd been in the national, in El Dorado High School in Illinois. He had been in the National Youth Administration. I guess it's one of the New Deal things for youth in high school. And he learned how to weld. So when he came, his idea was to go straight to shipyards and get a job. While he was in line in the shipyards with other boys his age, he said it took them 15 minutes to convince him to join the Army. The Navy. And next thing he knew, he was standing in line taking the test. He said he aced it, everything was good. And everything was good. Can you hear me better back there?
Turn it up.
I'm glad he's sitting in the back so we can tell. So this letter came from Modesto, California. And it tells me a few things. It's from a minister from a Methodist church, wrote to Minnie and said, I just want to make sure you know that your son came to church. That was very telling that she was either making him prove he went, or she reached out to this minister to look. Somehow, she needed to know that he got right with God before he was shipped out, because she knew he was getting ready to go to the Pacific Theater, and she didn't know he was 18, just barely turned 18. It also tells me that she no longer lives at the American Theater. She lives on 7th Street, about 3 blocks away. And is that Martin Luther King now? Yeah. Okay. So it wasn't far, it was just down around the corner there, which was telling. I don't know when that happened, but I know this says January 18th. Uncle Jimmy and some stuff I read from him said they moved there in March of 43. So it hadn't quite been a year that this was written. When he was in Hawaii, he sent this back to Shirley. He's letting everybody know he's okay. This is Aunt Minnie. Remember me telling you about Aunt Minnie? How she had some people working in the back and they used the back stairs? Anybody know what those girls did? Anybody know what Minnie was? Yes. Minnie, my grandma Minnie, was fit to be tied when she got there and found out the new address. And it wasn't easy to get another place, but since Aunt Minnie had connections, she got her a place to stay and got him out of that environment. I mean, talk about leaving poverty thinking, oh my God, we've got jobs now, we're going to be doing much better, and getting in there, and then it took going to the attic to the laundry room to figure it all out. So Aunt Minnie, she likes a little hat shop. This is taken on the sidewalk in Evansville. I don't know these stores, but there's a hat shop and a shoe shop. And she obviously, according to this fur coat, likes to shop. And she probably has the money too. And according to my mother, which is Shirley, and Edna May and Minnie, her stepsons took care of her. That's how they took care of her. They made sure she had income. And that's a true story, straight from their mouth. So this is Aunt Minnie. So when the war's over, if you can't tell by how giddy they are here, they're happy to be in Colorado. Edna May gets a job at Samsonite in Denver. Minnie is much more comfortable doing domestic work. She worked for families, more wealthy families, and took care of them and their children. And they were much happier. This is 20 years later, 1963, about 20 years later. 1963, my mom had met my dad in a roller skating rink in Colorado Springs. His name was Ozzie, and he was from Bloomington, Indiana. So did Edna May and Minnie want to come back to Indiana? Absolutely not. They did not want to come back, but Shirley kept having babies. And she has 6 children, twins included in there. So they moved back. They moved to Bloomington and decided, okay, I guess this is what we're going to do here. Edna had already had enough factory work. She got on right away at a factory like 3 blocks down the road from her. And Minnie wasn't long before she started working Social Security. Shirley, since she was raised around 2 women that worked like that, she got a job at RCA making televisions. And so that just taught them how to overcome adversity in whatever way they came across it. They can do it themselves. They can get it done themselves. And passed on through our generations. My sister has a sign that says, strong women raise strong women that raise strong women. And I think it's very true in our family. I'm the little towhead up there standing on the wall. That's Minnie holding my leg. I was so lucky to know my great-grandmother. She could cook like nobody's business. I learned how to recycle before recycle was cool. She always had the grease thing on the stove. I mean, just all the things that a lot of you know. But this, the bottom, this is Evansville Sioux, and this is Sunset Park on the river. And that is that. Does anybody have any questions?
We're going to have a question and answer session. We're going to couple microphones, we'll circulate. Jack, you got to stay up there and answer this question.
He's boss.
Okay. Okay, number one, put your hands up when you got a question. Jack, you can go ahead and I'll ask you a few right off the bat. But if you go to the back of our room back there, Donna, can you hear me now or no? Okay, Donna Bone created a whole board of Rosies. There's probably about 50 of them. Rosies has a very general definition. I used to always think it's a woman that rivets that plane. There's 150,000 rivets in that plane. Women did most of it. 150,000 people in Evansville, 150,000 in that plane. But a Rosie is a general terminology. I'll let Jackie comment on it, but a Rosie could have been a welder, could have been a person that worked at the USO, could have been working on a farm or anything. It's just really a woman worker in World War II. And so Rosie's has a big general definition. And when you look at that back wall, that describes some people. And if you look at the social change that we had in Evansville, on the back wall, there are 2 ladies named Juan Seidler. One of them is Lucy, and Lucy was born in Gallatin. And she came here just like your family came over from Gallatin. So there was a social change from within 50 miles, people came here for jobs. 15% unemployment in the 1930s. In 2008, we had about 12% unemployment. We had it for a year. We were all crying like little babies. It was 15% from 1929 to 1941. So everybody needed a job anywhere. And these shipyards, Surveil, all these paid real well. You saw her nice jacket. They paid very well. Compared to being a person at a restaurant, you got 3 times the salary, with some books say. So your salary went way up and you made good money. Social changes. We had a whole display. Donna Bone put it up in the other room. It was on the red light district. And the red light district is one of our most popular exhibits, but we had one policeman. He was probably fairly wealthy, guarding the red light district, okay? And I think he probably took some bribes. One policeman guarded the red light district. I forget the name of the street. It was, I think it's High Street downtown. But think of 80,000 or 60,000 new people there. She said nobody had a place to live. We had 1,800 beds of apartments. So everybody had to do the hotbed and things like her grandmother did. It changed society. If I go to the Super Bowl in New Orleans, there's 100,000 people who go to the Super Bowl, or say 80,000. A lot of them stay at hotels. But you can't put that many people in a hotel. We probably got maybe 15,000 hotel rooms. You've got too many people. So this was a social change for Evansville, and a lot of inertia stayed here, and so people stayed from the tri-state area, and they had spouses, they had kids, and they stayed here because there were good jobs here. Comment on everything I just said.
Okay, I'll start with the American Rosie River Association. They look at anybody being any woman that's to be a Rosie during World War II. You could have rolled bandages. You could have wrote letters to soldiers. I mean, there's different things you could have done. We have two members that are some of the youngest members we have in their 90s, who as school children would go out with onion bags, whatever the typical size of onion bag was back then. And if you filled that onion bag full of milk thistle, you would get money. And so these girls did this. And does anybody know why they needed milk thistle? Good, I'm glad. Because they needed life preservers filled, right? And who would have known? Who would have known? And I didn't know that before these ladies talked about it. So there's so many different reasons why, and you can have, a lot of women were, at this point, was born in 1920s. In the 20s, more than likely, if there's still alive, they were a Rosie. More than likely, even if they were a child in high school or whatever doing their work. I have a friend who joined because her mom worked at high school, and the high school girls would go to the USO in Indianapolis and dance with the soldiers when they would come through. So there's so many different ways that you can have a Rosie in your family. Just a lot of people didn't think that their parent, grandparent were Rosies because they didn't live it, or they didn't or take over a man's job, and that's not true. As far as the national organization is concerned, if you are a woman and worked during World War II in any capacity that contributed, you're a Rosie.
Okay, we got a question back there, Larry. Give a microphone. Introduce your name, say your name and your title. I can't hear her. I can't hear her. Not on. The green one, Cole. It's on. You gotta flip that thing up, Larry. Flip that thing up. Okay, try it now. It's probably working. No.
I can talk loud.
Yell.
I don't have a problem. My mother was married thing side. She grew up in Spencer County, around Richland, Rockport area. She was born in 25, so she graduated high school when the war was going on. My grandmother gave her 50 cents the next day after she graduated. She gave her 50 cents. Told her to go to the traction car and go to Evansville, to get a job. Things were really bad back there during the war. They were farmers. They had 9 brothers and sisters, and it was hard to feed the family. So she was the second oldest, and so she was sent off. She got on the traction car, come to Evansville, looking for a place to stay. There was many people around at that time, so she went into the Evansville store to spend the night in the bathroom because she couldn't find a place to stay. A lot of people did. So the next day she was able to find, they were kind of like dorm rooms or something where a lot of people stayed. She had found a lady in the bathroom along with her. She was from Kentucky. They became really good friends. But anyway, they found this dorm. They went to Serville. They started working at Serville. My mother was a bucker. You know what a bucker is? Yeah, I do. So a bucker my mother was really small, not like me, I took off from my dad's family. But anyway, she's a little lady. They needed buckers to go inside the wing to hold a panel so that when the riveter was riveting, it would press against that, and that's what she did. And she did that then until the war was over, and that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
So a lot of our photos in the museum show riveters and show, you don't see the bucker because the bucker's in the background and in a hidden place. So every riveter you see, there's usually a bucker. It's a strong piece of metal held so they don't bend the wing when they're pushing. She brought up the ENOV, or the trolley car. Trolley cars are very important in Evansville. They've got people from Rockport to Evansville. Some of the lines, if you go by the Jewish synagogue, there's some of the tracks right by there, and they would go and take people all the way from Rockport to here, west side and north of here. And we got rid of them in the 1950s because the American industry wanted cars everywhere. But that's how people got here, would go back at night so they didn't have a place to stay. So they carpooled to Evansville, or they took the ENOV. It was called the ENOV. It was very popular. It looks about like the trolley car in New Orleans, run by electricity, went right down Belmead Avenue in Evansville. My grandfather would take it every day to work. My mother took it to Hatfield. She didn't stop at Chick's Inn, but she did go to Hatfield. I don't know if you know about Chick's Inn, but it's a bar that's made out of one of those cars, those trolley cars, and they used to have fights there every Friday down there. The farmers would get milk and then they beat each other up. But it was one of the trolley cars. Now we got other questions out here and comments on what she just said about how her mother just made do and how women had to make do and how daycare started then. Because daycare, we were having all these babies pop out and where were they going to stay? And can you talk a little bit about that?
My mom didn't talk a lot about being at the school. She mainly talked about being with Aunt Minnie, which probably they were very reluctant, I'm sure, to leave her there, but desperation, you do what you can do. I just know they talked about things were hard. They were really hard, but they were also very grateful. They thought Roosevelt was the best person they voted Democrat the rest of their lives. And so they were grateful, very grateful to have these opportunities and have these jobs, even though it was very, very difficult work and situations, living situations like, her mom sleeping in a bathroom. My goodness, that's just terrifying. Probably just getting on the train from your farm and going to a big city has to be terrifying. But did it make her stronger? Did it help her? I'd probably help make you stronger. That's kind of what I said about my grandmas and my mom. It's just going through all the things that they went through and overcoming adversity in so many ways just transferred on to their children. The boys too, not just the women.
Most of your parents probably went through the same thing. We got another question up there. Okay, over there, Larry, if you got to work, and there's a lady over there. Just think of, to support a troop in World War II, they said it was 9 people to support one flyboy or one person working. So if there were 16 million troops in World War II, a 9-to-1 ratio means 160 million people. There were only 130 million people during World War II in the United States, but it was a high ratio, and these women made these things, and our whole front gallery is called Home Front, and that's what it's talking about. Cervelle, Boots, Republic Aviation, LST, and Republic Aviation's back in the corner. So it's giving a tribute to women like Shirley, Jackie's mother. So, and your parents, your grandparents, your aunts and uncles did the same. Now her other lady was Minnie, and she would be another generation back. She was about 40 in 1948. She was born in 1898, so she was a second generation, more mature, and then they kicked her out of one place because she was too old. But she kept working until she was in her 60s or so.
Yeah. and she was happy to be kicked out of White Swan. She did like being at Cervelle. She was good and handy at sewing, and I noticed that they had the white collars in that one picture. Some of the girls that dress up their outfits to look a little more girly. That is so her. I can see her making that and even making it for the other girls and bringing them in the next day. I can see her doing that. It's just so many different women have brought so many different qualities and skills with them from the farm or from wherever they were from, and brought it to the city and helped it all happen. I mean, I can imagine how the network of the cogs turning of everything working between transportation. Like, did she carpool to Cervelle? She didn't drive. Her and Emma May never drove. They never had a car, which is surprising, but they never had a car. Shirley made sure she had one when she was able, but it's just amazing to me when I hear all the stories about the Rosies and how they overcome so much.
We got one other second here. There's a Cervelle refrigerator in the corner. There's a Cervelle refrigerator in a little World War II home. So her mother worked at Cervelle. We're called the refrigerator capital of the world. We had refrigerator bowl at Wright's Bowl in the 20s, and we made Cervelle refrigerators. It's one moving part. My grandmother had it in her house all the time. One moving part. They're using now in the Mideast because there's no electricity, and they can go by gas. So that refrigerator and that one over there has one moving part. So they cleared out that factory, which is one of our number one factories. Rutenberg was in charge. He probably was the one instrumental in bringing all these contracts here, 600 million, to Evansville during World War II. But Cervelle not just made wings and made bullets, they did about everything in Cervelle. If you go look at the display, it has 6 E awards. In the United States, only 5% of the factories got E awards, and that one got 6 awards. And that's where Mother worked, and it was a good working environment. It was over there around by Bossy Field is where it was.
Yeah, I need to go to Bossy Field, by the way. Somebody tells me where that is.
I'm in Keisha P.
Doesn't work, can't hear her.
I can talk loud.
Well, they still can't hear.
I'm a teacher.
Yes.
It's working, go ahead, it's working there.
Okay.
I'm in Keisha P. And I don't have a question, but I just have a statement. When you mentioned the quote that strong women raise strong children,
Speak up, put the microphone 1 inch away, please.
strong women raise strong children, it made me think of my favorite quote about strong. And then when you mentioned how they loved the Roosevelt, what was going on, I looked at it and I thought, I've got to share this. This was what Eleanor Roosevelt said. A woman is like a tea bag. You never know how strong it is until it's in hot water. I've seen that through the years, and as we talk about Rosie Riveters or Rosies, these were women who stood up because they had to be strong. And so I just want you to know how much I've enjoyed and appreciated what you shared today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, it means a lot to me to talk about them because I can't believe I didn't get choked up talking about them. It means a lot to me to talk about them because I grew up with them. I grew up in the same house with them. There was 4 generations of women in our family, in our home. Grandma Minnie, I'll just say Minnie, she was the cook. She was the domestic person. Edna, she decided that she wanted to work and do her thing. She's always been very independent. I have a cute little story about her, sorry. When she was younger and women were able to vote, she wasn't quite old enough. And her friends double dog dared her to go inside to vote because she was a little older. She looked older and she was tall. And they said, I bet you can't go in there. I bet you have to go dare you. She goes inside and she goes, I want to vote. And the lady goes, you can't. There's no way you're old enough. And she stood her ground. I want to vote. And she acted this out. I'm acting out how she told me. And she said, the lady was arguing with her then, no, you can't come in and vote, you're not old enough, you have to be 18. And she said, some voice bellowed behind the wall and said, let her vote. She came out, took her skirt, and flashed it at her friends, and went on. So that's just part of their personality, of how she was. She also went to the USO to dance. Okay, she's now single, right? She comes back, she's single. She's 24. She's got a babysitter. She's got grandma, right? So she goes to the USO. Well, I hear over the years, if she's busy, her dance card's full. And I go, what are you talking about, your dance card's full? She goes, oh, honey, it's something from back in wartime when we used to go to the USO. And the guys would sign down who they wanted to dance. And when all the guys signed the card, it's full for the night. So my dance card's full, especially saying if they didn't want to dance with somebody, oh, I'm sorry, my dance card's full. So I just remember her saying things like that. That was just so cute because she was so spirited. Sorry, I got off on a tangent on that.
Larry, you tell the story about your mother going to the dance floor.
My mother, she had to get a card to go to the USO and be admitted. We talked about the red light district. Well, they wanted to keep those ladies out. She had to have a card signed by somebody with some, power or some position. She had a card signed by the pastor of St. Mary's Church. On the back was her height, weight, hair color, and eye color. And to get into the USO Club, she had to show that card to get in. Another thing about Mom was, when the war broke out, she was working at Woolworth downtown. And she worked in the hardware department. Her and her best friend decided to go to Republic Aviation and see if they could get a job. And I think she put down there that she worked in the hardware department because they put her in the tool crib. They probably said, this girl knows the difference between a screwdriver and a drill bit, put her in the tool crib. She didn't drive, but her friend did, and her friend became a chauffeur for Republic Aviation, driving, picking up dignitaries at the railroad station, bringing them out to the factory and things like that.
Okay, anybody else? Now, we have a bookstore over here, a gift shop. This is Leanne Rosie, and she has Rosie earrings and Rosie memorabilia. So if you want to give your grandkids or yourselves some memorabilia for Christmas, Christmas is coming up pretty soon, that you can stop by there. Also, don't forget what I said earlier, we are 67% of 100, so if you want to help us out with that. And the story she said about getting in somewhere at age 18 to vote, if you see Mr. Branham here, he's sitting up here, and he had problems getting served at the bar, but he at age 19 got in because he's so tall. So his height did get him in now. I don't think he had to get to vote, but he got in to get a beer. Oh, I gotta see that. Okay, now, I know that isn't all true, Steve. I know you're a teetotaler. You got one more there? Okay, now this is how share is supposed to happen. First of all, she gave a talk, and all the exchange of what you have, knowledge base, that's what share is supposed to be, not just one question that we take out and get out of Dodge. It's lunch, you already had it, learn and share. The share, you had a lot of interaction with Jackie, all kinds of things improved our knowledge base after we had some stories from everybody in the crowd. So we can't thank Jackie enough for coming down from IU and from Bloomington on her own cost and all her work that she's done for Rosie. We got one more. Here's Mrs. Whitty.
I wanted to say real quick that I do have brochures or bookmarks back there if you want to know anything about the Rosie River Association. Just want to throw that in real quick.
There's 5,000. We got one more. Miss Barbara Boots Whitty. Now, Boots Manufacturing. Hal Boots flew 18 missions over Italy. That's her daddy, and we've interviewed him, and we have a display on Boots Manufacturing. They dropped kitchens down. They made practice bombs. They also made gas tanks at Boots. It's one of the factories still staying in existence, and Barbara's been a very good supporter of us. Barbara, shoot. I can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Both of my grandmothers.
No, put the microphone. We're not going to have a microphone. Right.
Both of my grandmothers were.
Right there, like this.
both of my grandmothers were not Rosie Riveters, but they went to work at the canteen, and they would roll bandages for, quote, the boys, and they would bake pies for, quote, the boys, and that was part of their war effort to where they would support, of course, their sons that were in the war. And I always thought it was neat that Grandma would write, went to the canteen today and we rolled bandages for the boys.
They would qualify as a Rosie, wouldn't they?
Your grandmothers would qualify as a Rosie. Absolutely.
Okay. This is Norman, stand up and say who you are.
It's a statement. It changed the world for women. World War II did. World War II changed the war for women. We would not have won the war without the women because we wouldn't have been able to produce enough to supply the troops that we needed. So women were very valuable in World War II. They were super. And they saved us.
Thank you.
Norman, you just got a lot of points. You are smarter than I thought you were. You're a brain. Okay, very smart man here. Very smart. Say your name.
Tom Winters volunteer here. Just to point your aunt was one that went and voted before she was 18.
That was my grandmother.
Your grandmother. Well, we have to remember it wasn't until early 1970s that people could vote younger than 21. So she had to pass several years.
Yes, that's true. But she got by with it because the bellow behind the wall said she could.
She voted FDR in, so otherwise it would have been, what is his name, Breckenridge. Or he's our vice president, Breckenridge, yeah. Okay, all right, any other questions? So next week, 2 weeks from now, a gentleman, Thomas, he, University of Evansville professor for about 45 years, he's now retired. He goes once a year to Greece to dig into the ground to find artifacts. And because we're an archive, we have an archive department up here, he's going to talk about why we're trying to archive it before we have to dig in the dirt and understand this stuff. He's going to talk about a lot of artifacts from Greece and the islands there. So it's a little different than usual, but he is a tremendous speaker, talked at University of Evansville for only 40 years. So that's in 2 weeks. Thank you for coming again. Planes and trains, right here we're going to have 5 trains, these little miniature trains here on the 14th. It's from 12 to 4, and then Santa's going to come in on plane. Santa's going to be on stage. Very popular. Bring your grandkids. They can sit on Santa's lap. Food and trains. These kids just stare at these trains forever. They're the ones that used to be on the bottom of the Evansville Museum downtown. So love to have you on the 14th of December, Sunday, 12 to 4. Sunday, 14th December, 12 to 4. Trains, planes, and Santa. Thank you.